Welcome back. Once again, it's part 2 of our special root access pre-Macworld edition. Sadly, this is the last time we'll be doing a pre-Macworld root access, most likely.
What, is this like going away?
No, come on now. Don't start those rumors. But it's Macworld is disappearing, or at least Apple's participation in Macworld. So maybe we might crank out one more of these next year. But that's about it. Okay, so in the first segment we talked about Apple and reasons why they might want to skip the trade show in terms of cost, in terms of it being a thing of the past. But there's this whole other theory that this is all related to Steve Jobs' health.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's a very touchy subject. I mean, it's probably something that we don't need to be speculating on, but he is a public figure. You know, we have seen him throughout the years. He has had, health problems in the past with the cancer, which thankfully he beat.
Well, and the thing is, he's a public figure, but not only that, at this point we know that in the past the board wasn't entirely forthcoming with how bad the health situation was. So, but anyhow.
Well, and I guess it's a touchy situation because one, he deserves to have his private life.
Sure.
And on the other hand, he's also the figurehead of this company and also runs, a couple other companies. So I guess he's entitled, if there is something serious, to, divulge that information to the shareholders. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's evident that he has a health problem, whether it's just, the flu or something, involving, nutritional. I mean, I don't know if he's like deathly ill.
Right.
But he clearly has something. He's very thin. So typically people aren't that thin unless there's something going on.
But you're all right, right?
I'm putting on good muscle. Good weight, yeah.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean he can't still run the company.
Sure. Sure. I just think, and again, Steve Jobs is Steve Jobs and he will do what he wants to do, but there are so many different ways to handle this in terms of he could just show up. He could just come up and say, hey, here I am, I'm fine. I'm doing an interview with CNBC about our new products. Everything's A-okay. Or he could say, well, I'm fine, but we need to start thinking about transitions and Apple in the future, and he just doesn't.
Well, and they did try to, it looks like, maybe start that last announcements where, one, he joked about his health on stage, and they also had I guess it was during the iPhone announcement. I forget what it was, but they had other people come up on the stage and present.
Scott Forstall did
it wasn't just Steve for an hour.
Right.
And so now they're having Phil Schiller do Macworld. So maybe even if Steve is still, running Apple for the next couple years, that they're starting that transition of, hey, Apple. I mean, Steve gets a lot of credit for things that happen at Apple, and he deserves a lot of credit, but he's not the brains behind every product. I mean, there's a lot of intelligent people. They're a lot of smart guys.
Right, and if you check through the blogs, there's a blog entry talking about maybe some positive change that would come to the company if Steve had a less prominent role, because it's not all great. Decisions that we are left to believe.
There's always room for improvement.
Come down from him. So I think if you're perfectly healthy, you don't skip this Macworld, especially as the last one. No matter how upset you might be with IDG, you would stop and say, boy, this is going to look really bad if I don't come to this. So, my gut feeling is something's going on if he's not there and he's not going to show up. And, we're speculating, but what we do know is nobody's saying that they've seen him. I've seen people put out Twitter tweets. I'm getting hip with this. Tweets, and also there was a blog on, I think it was on Apple 2.0, about, hey, has anybody seen him?
Yeah.
Because if people are seeing him go to work, then we can just nip this in the bud and be done with it.
Well, I mean, there's still the possibility that he makes a special guest appearance at Macworld. I mean, people were speculating, like, what if Phil says one more thing, and then Steve comes out and delivers the one more thing. So who knows? I mean, that story hasn't been written yet, so I guess we'll have to wait until the 6th.
That would be impressive. I've said previously, I believe on TDL Live, that if Steve is okay, I think this is all set up for him to keynote CES next year.
Yeah, see, because Bill Gates stepped down. And I mean, is Bill Gates doing it this year? I'm not sure if this
No, I think Ballmer's doing it this year.
Yeah, you're right. So, I don't know. CES doesn't seem like it'd be Apple's gig.
It wouldn't be old Apple's gig. Yeah. Apple Computer wouldn't have an interest in CES, but Apple Inc., with more and more devices, I think he would rather keynote the industry keynote than his company's keynote.
We'll see. Like it's,
That's a whole year away, though. Who knows what could happen? That would be pretty cool, though, if he came out and did the one more thing, or maybe they wheel him out. And he's,
oh, don't say that. He'll come out on his own.
It's awful. It's awful. I apologize for that.
Yeah. All right.
All right, he says. All right. Okay, so in the next segment, we'll put all this Steve Jobs stuff behind us, and we'll talk about potential products and announcements from the last Apple Macworld. Stay tuned.